Hello, and welcome to Star Blood Chronicles. I'm your host, Dragon Paw. And before we start this episode, I just want to say what's up to my witches, warlocks, goons, and goblins out there. If you haven't subscribed yet, go to Star Blood Chronicles on YouTube, and you can subscribe there. I'm thinking about making a Patreon right now, but if I do, I'm gonna put some real juicy stuff on the Patreon. So we'll see. This episode's about me and some another guy who's going through a spiritual journey. We just kind of linked up online because we were into similar things. So I call this one Spiritual Strangers. And it's a two-part episode. Well, it's 2 episodes because it's pretty long. So I cut it up. Have fun watching. If you have questions at the end, please leave comments on YouTube so I can see what else you guys want to see. If I can make an episode with whatever you guys want to know, spiritual wise, paranormal wise, UFO wise, UAP wise. All right, enjoy. Peace.
All right. So I'm going to name this one Spiritual Strangers.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
That way we could get to know how both one another came into the spiritual world, or just, how we started evolving.
Yeah, for sure.
So you could just start with your name, where you're from, whatever you want to say. You could have a different name. You could say whatever you want.
So I go by Macaulay Sage, but I kind of, my first name is Macaulay, my middle name is Sage, so everybody can kind of call me Macaulay. I got into this spiritual side of things just a few years back because I felt kind of like my life had just kind of led up to this point where I went to a doctor one day, and it's kind of like a holistic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking about how he thought maybe aliens had something to do with the pyramids.
Yeah.
We're like getting right into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But so that day, it kind of seemed like right away when I got home, I felt like interested to start researching into some of that stuff. And immediately I started feeling like this kind of like a guidance drawing me to click on new things, like over and over. One thing all of a sudden would answer a question that I was just thinking about previously in the next video. And it's not like I was searching for it exactly. It's just I felt like I was guided.
You were, but you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like from then on, it just has been this constant thing where it's just something has led me constantly to finding more information and directions that's like pulling me to the areas I'm supposed to be in my life. So I feel like I'm supposed to be helping people with my words, and that getting into that area, I started realizing I wanted to be on YouTube and talk more, and I've always kind of had this feeling that I love just helping people and being positive and strong-willed in my mind to know the best ways to handle life almost. I don't want to be like stuck up sounding, but just in an overall, just a happy, positive type of mindset. And I just wanted to share that with the world. And I hadn't ever felt like that up until that point, like that strong before. And so a lot of this stuff has just been guiding me more and more to certain ancient knowledge that's really like helping me really build myself into a certain direction, and then as well as like helping the world in whatever way I can while I'm learning this stuff along the way too. It's been super interesting. I don't know if it's like the same way with you, but
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm just gonna be like this the whole time.
it seems like that for a lot of people. It's like this is what we're here to do all of a sudden. And
Right.
some people, it seems like spontaneous that they just kind of like awaken to this all of a sudden.
So what was like your upbringing like? If you can tell us like about if there was religion, if there wasn't, how was that?
Yeah, so I grew up with an awesome mom, man, that she really just taught us just to be good people and just uh I grew up not even being able to like say the word hate, like
Wow,
and
that's
it
good.
wasn't like she like sheltered us like crazy or anything, because she definitely gave me game on like all kinds of just wild stuff in the world, but she really just instilled just to be a good person overall and just a sweet, caring, loving human. And we didn't really go to church or anything. My mom, while she was growing up, she did go to church and stuff like that. My dad, his family was Catholic, and we just never really. I think because my dad was so busy working all the time, we kind of just didn't ever really do the religion thing almost. My mom just kind of instilled the main things that a lot of religions like really push, just but it wasn't that we ever actually got into a structured religion like that. So when all this spiritual kind of stuff started popping up a whole lot more in my life, it really was kind of a whole new world that I was getting into, really. And it allowed me to jump around and look into different religions and kind of understand a whole lot more about them. And I appreciate the ideas, what religion has in them, but I might not exactly follow so much of the structures that they kind of
the system.
Yeah.
The system is the one thing that I cannot stand, and that I grew up with as a Catholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I noticed as also being in my youth, you could say a criminal, that the religious structure was the same as the correctional structure.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I was like, this is not where I want to be in neither of them. And
It just
when
didn't seem right.
It didn't seem like. I always say, and it's actually from the Bible, fear will never be the voice of guidance. And that's just how I feel. Like they're always trying to push fear on you for some sort of control, even to purchase things. Even on TV, it's just like, oh, you better buy a bunker, or like it's just fear, scare them into their wallet.
Yeah.
And as I grew, if you've in one of my episodes, I talked about when I kind of switched was in one of my biggest car accident.
Oh, okay.
Truck I was in, we flipped over and it landed on my head.
Oh wow.
And the doctor said you should have passed, but I didn't, right? And then in the future, it's in one of my episodes. I think it's called "In the Hands of Haniel," which is an archangel.
Okay.
And just last year, a psychic told me that Haniel protected me.
Oh wow.
Day. I was like, what?
That's wild.
She said, that's your primary protector. I was like, huh? I don't do religion, but I do spirituality, and I know different entities, you could say that, but it's more like energies. It's more like consciousnesses, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been getting in touch with a lot more consciousnesses than systems. It's like, I don't know, but continue.
No, I know that same feeling. Like it took me a while to like get to the point where I could really appreciate religions in certain ways, because I felt the same way at first. I kind of looked at it like this just seems like something to control people, and I automatically would just look at it like that's not something I want to continue even paying attention to at this point. Right. I feel like I know better than that now. But like you said, once I started getting deeper into this stuff, I started realizing that there is a beautiful side to it all, that there really is something that
it kind of gets ignored in the
Yeah.
systematic part of it.
Yep. And
It's
that's
almost like in the middle, but it's either they're very extreme, very low, very high. They don't want to
Mhm.
tell you the real secret.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Eucharist, or what is it called? Who's the Greek god that? Not Eucharist.
I'm not sure.
The guy who they said don't fly too high because your wings will burn.
I'm not too sure on the Greek stuff yet.
Someone will know. Someone will know.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So once I started understanding all that a little bit more and really feeling into the spiritual side of stuff, I started to appreciate those types of things out of the religion. And then it got me to a point now where I let other people, if that's the way they want to feel about religion and stuff, that's
Yes.
fine. But I can appreciate it now, and I understand the wonderful parts within it and stuff.
Mhm.
So I understand that they do use it to kind of dangle power over top of people in a way, and
Well,
that's
that's why it was built for.
yeah, I feel sad about that part for so many, because there's so many people that are really
Yeah,
they're so powerful into their own religion, and they care for it so deeply, and it's like they really deserve the truth in it.
they exude it, but
Yeah,
then there's some that use it as a crutch, and those are the people
yeah,
I'm like, mm-mm.
yeah. I feel like they're just doing that, but like you said, like they're in fear themselves, and they just need
Right.
something to latch onto and feel safe with, and they just use it for that, or maybe just use it to like make themselves look better, like
Mm-hmm.
they're just doing the right thing, and that's good. I got this.
They'll use it in their inner circle to gain, like, gain a woman, gain a job.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm
yeah.
this, and I'm like, no, you're not. No one who actually is needs to say it or
Yeah,
show it
yep,
around.
exactly. It just and that's something that I've noticed, like really getting deep into the spirituality side of stuff. If you talk to other people about religion, it's like they still want to be divisive and stuff, and that's just like not what it.
But it's ingrained in them.
Yeah, it's like you shouldn't even want to feel divisive if you really understand like the truths in it like that. Like you wouldn't want to you would want to care about every human, everything walking, just anything and everything on the planet.
You want to know where we got that system from?
What?
The religious system? Do you want to know where?
Yeah.
So you heard of the Anunnaki, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they created this system so people would praise them as gods.
Okay.
And so it got transformed into what it is now. And they're lowercase gods in a sense. They were above us in a lot of technology and stuff, but
I've heard a little bit about them and stuff. I haven't like gotten deep into it. I like listening to Billy Carson stuff, and that's where I first really started hearing about them. But I never like got heavy into that. It seems like there's like so many things to look at that I've dipped and dabbled in a little bit of everything as much as I can. But then I also have felt like I just had like this certain guiding way that. Yeah. And I try to stay on that path that feels like what's like true to me, and not shunning anything or nothing.
No, but you want to spend the most send most of your energy where you're being pulled to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
How about you? Do you feel that same kind of way? Like, do you feel like you've got this like drawing current that like guides you to certain things specifically?
I've had it for many years, bro.
Yeah.
I was young, dabbling in like darker stuff.
Yeah.
And then religion came in and tried to scare me out of it, which in a way I kind of rebelled and used it against religion. Like, okay, I never told nobody this, but there was one time I was in we do this confirmations where I don't know, a coming of age, and they graduate you or whatever they do.
Okay.
And all I remember was feeling my face hot and just staring at the priest like. And then he locked eyes with me, and he just like, I saw fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this ain't for me. This is not the spot.
Yeah, that's wild.
But then I was lost for so many years, and I was doing, street stuff, but there was always a small guiding light, like with the love that I've noticed with family members. I was like, there's something here, but I can't grasp it right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I know that. I know that different type of world. Like I grew up just like, I mean, around like all types of different people. And I used to love skateboarding and graffiti, and I mean, I still love those types of things.
I did that
but
too.
it's like life just kind of like pulled me in a different direction, and I feel like I didn't feel like I was just giving it up or anything. It just seemed like it like washed away of me or whatever. Like it's not even things like I chose to change myself to start.
I understand what you. Have you heard it in spirituality? There's many deaths.
Oh yeah, or things burning away from you.
Yeah, and if you want to get technical and spacey, every freaking minute we are changing. We're through the multiverse, like. So when you think of it that way, you're dying and living at every single moment.
Yeah,
and it's up to you to become the where you want to be, where you want to end up.
Yeah, I kind of always I go back and forth on that like free will type of thing, where I feel like I have this path that seems like I've almost felt like it's like rode out already, but at the same time I feel like I have the free will to like be lazy about it if I want, and like fall away from the true path of where I really am supposed to go.
Yes.
And I mean, I do my best to not be that way. I'm not really a lazy type of person. I've always just, my mind's always going. So I've always felt like I've just been driven to do whatever I was focused on at the time. I'm just doing that and putting heavy focus on it. So it's strange how it does feel like I'm just going down this path that I feel like I'm supposed to be. And the more that I've felt those like confirmations along the way, like synchronicities and stuff showing me things that I just couldn't deny, that are just like so crazy. I mean, I'm 34, and I've over 30 years I've noticed that life hadn't showed me things like this, and then just in the past few years, these things like just speeding up, just crazy synchronicities over and over and over. I know it's like
it's a new life
showing me.
It's totally. I wasn't seeing any of that in my younger days. Like maybe I did, but I didn't process it.
Yeah. I think about that too.
Just today, I had the craziest freaking thing happen. Okay, I can't say what I'm doing because it's going to be for another episode.
Yeah.
But I did something high level spiritually.
Yeah.
I started practicing it a couple days ago. I wasn't doing too well. Last night it came out pretty good, and I felt invigorated, right?
Yeah.
And then today, I've never seen one before, but at my job, I even recorded it. If you check my stories on Instagram, a giant hawk.
Oh yeah.
Just right next to me, and it's just like looking at me like, what? Like, I'm watching you, bro. You're getting better.
Yeah.
It was crazy synchronicity. Like,
yeah,
I
know
awesome.
That feeling, dude. And it's like you might be able to tell certain people this, and certain people might be like, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, there's birds everywhere.
But it's certain pigeons all the time.
Like, right? But it's certain things that like it's for you. Mm-hmm. Like deep down what it is exactly, and it's almost like not worth telling certain people sometimes because that's for you, and that that's how it's supposed to be, or that those are the things that are showing you straight up in your life. Like, look, man, you're doing great. You're on the path you're supposed to be on.
And what I've noticed is when you go looking for spirit comes looking for you too.
Yeah. Yep. Man, so my mom passed away when I was 20, and I've even noticed throughout like the past few years since she's been gone that even her showing up, or her energy, or whatever you want to consider it, in different ways, like throughout kind of maybe consider like important times throughout the last years, where I couldn't explain. It couldn't happen if I like planned everything so perfectly. That just like things like her having this super old car, like that ever since I was little, my dad just had it in the garage or whatever, and it was hers when she was younger, and it was a car that wouldn't see no more in America or whatever. And this exact car, after I was just thinking about her, basically just driving down the road and thinking,
No way.
like, I didn't even say anything out loud, dude.
Mhm.
And then the car just drives past my car immediately. And it's the same exact one. It's a convertible. It's the same color, same everything. And like,
Mhm.
it's so many different little situations like that where, once again, I could tell people and they might be like, yeah, but I mean, you're on the road. There's cars everywhere. That could happen.
Of course.
But nobody would really understand unless it's like,
It's a
they
different
know.
it's a different feeling when you know, like, that it's for you. If you're
Yeah.
connected, that's what
Yeah.
happens. It happens because you're connected. It's not, you don't even have to think about it. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Something's gonna happen.
That's what I thought was crazy. That made me kind of think of things in a totally different way, because I was like, I didn't even speak anything out loud. I was literally just thinking for a split second about my mother a little bit, and then immediately that just rolls up like that.
Well, that's all you need sometimes. They say that when someone passes, they're never lost, because as soon as you think of them and how you felt around them, that's them.
Oh yeah.
And it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be a human type of. They're in their natural state. Spirit is our natural state, so they're not thinking the same way we do.
Yeah.
But their essence is still there. It's
And able to be in things like that in this reality, I guess, or use things in this reality to.
That's another cool.
manifest,
That's
I
another
guess.
cool point that you brought up. So everything is here right now. We're all at just different frequencies. So when we're
yeah.
allowed to see these things, it's like, oh shoot! It's not that it
Yeah.
just came here.
Yeah.
Everything's here. Everything. It's pretty awesome.
That is super interesting, man.
So, do you meditate?
Yeah, and that's something that like I've really been focused on a lot lately. That's like probably it's a huge part of my focus right now. Really,
Yeah.
it's like for like the past year, I've really been focused on it, and then maybe the past half of year, I've really started to like ramp it up where I try to do like 2 hours a day, basically, like one in the morning and one at night. And
That's pretty good, bro. I'll tell you, 2 hours or 1 hour is like, I'll sit till my feet go numb, and then I'm like, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Right. I got heavy into, I kind of felt guided at one point in time to learning about Hinduism.
Yeah,
And
me too.
like I went to a party, and basically this dude was just there that kind of, I just like felt comfortable to be talking to him for whatever reason. And he just like went into this whole story about how he was going to go to India and I guess basically go and hang out with some yogis and like kind of go down a path of spirituality in his own way.
Yeah.
And he ended up kind of like dropping off out of my life like very quickly after that. Like I wanted to be friends with him, and it seemed like it just like
you could have learned.
yeah, like it's weird though. It's like he was so cool at the party, but then it was like it's like life just was like, look, man, I just need you to see this and understand. There's India right here, and look at Hinduism.
Look at this.
But then they dropped off the rest of him being in my life. So like that automatically like drew me to looking into it and being interested in it. And so I dug deep into like the Yoga Sutras and learning about like the whole process of basically following yoga as a practice and then like the steps to leading to basically being like a realized being or whatever, or enlightenment, however you want to call it. And so that just kind of like led into this thing that I just felt more and more guided to. And then as I was understanding stuff about that, I realized, wait a second, my middle name is Sage. And
I know, I thought you made that up. I was like, that's cool.
Like, so I say that sometimes like on my videos on YouTube, how it really is my middle name. And like my mom, she didn't talk about stuff to do with like sages or anything like that. She she was kind of like a hippie in her own way or whatever. She grew up in like the 60s and stuff. So, but at the same time, it's like, I don't believe she gave me that name, like her knowingly giving it to me in some kind of way like that for like wisdom or anything. But it just seemed like it was just like this another confirmation, just like showing me what I'm kind of supposed to be doing in this life.
Yeah.
And once I got into Hinduism and learning about that and recognizing meditation and stuff, I started practicing it a whole lot more.
Yep.
And then I've slowly kind of started learning more into Buddhism and stuff too, just kind of noticing it's like almost like a more refined version of Hinduism. And
I've always felt pulled to the Eastern. Everything.
I know.
That's why I do martial arts. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
I had this Asian friend in college. She's like, I think you were Chinese before. I was like, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, man. I even the doctor that I talked about at the very beginning, him talking about the aliens having something to do with the pyramids. He even hinted around it, like saying how the continent of Asia, them having like some of the oldest knowledge on the planet, basically, or whatever, and him kind of like hinting at it more as like they know some things that they're not sharing with people and stuff that are like kind of making it out to be like something I might need to look into a little bit. And it just is like something over time I just realized more and more, like, and then it seems so obvious after we learn about these things, like, man, why our whole side of the planet is just like kind of lost, even though it's right there. It's like breadcrumbs all over the place for us. But
you can't see what you are not at the frequency of. And you know, you might not have ever heard that, but you understand it, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've got into like the frequency and vibration thing a lot, just to do with consciousness and kind of following certain. There's a guy named Bob Proctor. I don't know if you know who he is.
I heard the name before.
He's a teacher. He's passed away now, but he really taught people in like a more a way that Americans could really like appreciate and understand like a spiritual side of things without it sounding like, oh, this is spirituality. Woo-woo. And it's vibration and frequency, and it sounds like, I don't know if I want to get into that. He gave it to them in a real business-like way where they could use it in their life. Yeah, and appreciate it.
Like Alan Watts. Have you heard of that guy?
Yeah, I love his work too. Yeah, for sure. And that's another thing. Like I like people like that, and I try to like reference some people like that sometimes when I'm talking to some people that kind of don't want to get too deep into certain stuff. They feel like, I don't know, that stuff's kind of weird. I'll pull out certain people that are really put together, very like smart, and the way they talk about things come off in a good way, so it doesn't sound too strange to them or anything.
Right.
But
that's kind of what I've been trying to do with spirituality, is find a way to explain it to people like me, like that came, like all we know is don't eat meat on Fridays, and like it's so weird.
Yeah,
it just never made sense to me.
I've always had like this way about feeling like I could relate to like anybody, almost like a chameleon.
Yes.
Like I always had all types of different friends. Like it didn't matter. Whatever culture, I really love finding out and learning about different types of cultures. I don't feel like I want to be safe in my own or something. I want to know more and more and more about everything I can. So that's always been like a thing for me. It seems like I had some kind of way of figuring out how I could like relate certain things to certain types of people. I just recognized like, well, they're only going to want to hear it in this type of way. So I'll go ahead and give it to them in this package right here or whatever.
And that's kind of like the way, like when I started like learning about dragon stuff.
Yeah.
That just took my life over. Because it spoke to me. It spoke to me.
I figured it would have to be something like powerful like that for you to feel like dragons were something important to you. I've heard about certain people that talk heavy about dragons, or you just hear about like certain things. Some people gravitate towards different types of beings or whatever. I thought it had to be something like that for you, that you felt like connected with them in some type of way.
Yeah. So basically, I talked about it in my last episode that we use permission slips everywhere. A permission slip is some sort of tool that gets you closer to the inner you.
Okay.
So I was using, first it was religion, and I just couldn't connect until dragons.
Yeah, until you found that.
And then, yeah, they changed my life with analyzing dreams and stuff like I've learned integrity from dragons. What?
Wow. That's interesting, man. I don't know. I haven't had something in that kind of way. Like, I'm sure I've got something in some totally different way, but I think that's so interesting. What is it you think that like specifically pulled you to that or to dragons? Do you remember like the first thing that was like kind of really came up that made you feel like I liked it, or you always kind of thought they were cool?
So back to the Asian stuff I was talking about.
Okay.
Bruce Lee was like the idol. He was my Jesus.
Yeah.
As growing up, like even now he is like I love or Yeshua, not Jesus. His real name is Yeshua, by the way.
Okay.
Tell everybody. Ever since then, more and more little things happen. But when I started meditating, bro, that's when I started seeing them.
Okay.
And it was like finally you opened the door.
Yeah.
It was nuts, man.
I think that's so interesting how it just like certain things connect with certain people like that. Like I hear about other people that are like farther off in the alien or entity type of like realm of things, and they feel like they have certain things connecting with them like that. And I watched this one girl on YouTube that she kind of reads tarot, and she'll talk about different people that are like heavily related with dragons a lot, and it just makes me think about it or whatever. Like,
I mean,
like I'm not sure any of this stuff.
No,
like,
right? Me either.
People be like, "Dude, that sounds kind of weird" or whatever. Like, I want to. If somebody thinks that makes them feel comfortable in some type of way, or is some kind of connection with them, like I completely.
And that's why it's called a permission slip.
That's awesome.
And we use them all the time, throughout our day. People that are like so good at sports, that's their permission slip. I have gum. That's their permission slip to freely express their passion, basically.
Okay, I see.
That's what it is. And what dragons represent, it's the perfect balance. If you're moving, your life's going to be beautiful. As soon as you stop, chaos will surround you. It'll either destroy you or it's time to keep moving. So it's always balanced. And that's just how I see everything.
That's awesome. Man.
It's fun.
I really like appreciate like the Asian culture a lot, because it seems like it definitely is so much like wisdom in every single thing to do with like in animals or just the land or the just anything and everything. They have some type of like wonderful wisdom within.
Buddha stuff is I'm trying to get more I used to read Buddha stuff when I was studying philosophy.
Yeah.
And that was another reason why it opened me up to the Eastern philosophy. But but in the spiritual realm, they say that like Buddha studies is more solar, and natural studies, like nature, is lunar.
Okay.
So I've realized I've been doing all lunar stuff because I love the planet. I doing natural, like Wicca. Wicca would be considered a lunar magic.
Okay.
And so when you start studying like different things of the light, like Buddhism, that's solar. So I've been trying to get more like balance with the solar stuff.
That's interesting. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget how deep I am into this stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could tell by listening to certain things that you talk about along the way. I was like, you definitely know a lot of certain things that I'm like super interested to always learn more and more about this kind of stuff. I can just tell you had a lot of knowledge on some just different areas that I have not even been able to explore yet at all.
And I could tell you're a free spirit like me too, and that's the reason why I hit you up to be on this.
I know, I thought it was so cool that you just like reached out to me in that way or whatever. I was so like, I feel like these kind of things are like, I couldn't turn it down in no way ever, because the things that just come to me just feel like they're, if they come to me, it just is something that I'm supposed to do and be a part of.
That's funny that you say that, because today I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, I got a good idea basically for a business, and I said, I'm going to take that, I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to use it. Yeah. Because as soon as you don't use an idea, or you don't do something that came to you, it goes to someone else.
Yeah.
It's not like ideas belong to us. They're given to us.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. I talk about that in a lot of my videos about how we kind of gain any type of information through collective consciousness. We might, our mind might be thinking up certain things, but the stuff that comes into it, and I've heard it from like artists and like musicians and painting artists, like all along the way throughout history and stuff. Michael Jackson said it, or Bob Dylan said it, how they were like, I'm not taking credit for this stuff. It just comes into my mind, and I just let it flow through me.
Like Prince too.
Okay.
Yeah. He was really connected. What's funny is I remember growing up with Michael Jackson stuff, right? That's how I learned how to dance. And then, but now recently, clips are coming out where he was saying stuff like that. But back then, they never put that out.
I don't doubt it, man.
They never showed how spiritually connected he was to things for his talent. He had talent that was given to him, and he knew that.
Man, that's how I wonder how this kind of works too. I wonder if there's, if I mean, I guess in a way there are certain people that are made in such a certain form that these ideas are going to flow through them, and they can like squander and like waste it if they want to. But they're specifically made in a way where they can carry out something really great. Yes. And it might not be that every single person can, literally. There's other people that got things that are going to come to them that they're going to be able to work out and do in their own perfect way. But some of the people that are just meant to be just out in the mainstream, I guess, or coming up with like groundbreaking technologies and stuff. It's just
even technology. It's just a talent. It's just a different idea. It's cool. It's how we build.
I've been thinking about that a lot with like the way the political stuff is going. I don't get like into that. I just kind of like observe everything.
Exactly. I'm just an observer. I do not take that into my energy because I know what peace means.
Yeah.
And peace and politics do not mix.
And I just can't help but like see how there's people enacting things, and certain people don't like certain things about it, and some people do. And I just kind of look at it like these same ideas that these people are enacting out, they could flow through anybody's mind in that type of way. And it just so happens that certain people are enacting out these ideas. And it's like easy for us to like be in our ego and get caught up like, no, I don't want this person doing it, or I don't want this person doing it. Why couldn't they have done it? But I try to always like just try to stay set back and just in that observer mode and paying attention to just the bigger picture of what's going on, and just feel like something greater is changing like on the planet, and we're going in a good direction. And it might be enacted out by people that we might not always like doing certain parts of things, but it's okay, because in the grand scheme of things, I really feel like I can just see things changing on the planet. I can feel it in people, like just my close friends and family. I can see large changes in them in just like the past year, basically. Like, and I can tell that it's just these energies that we're being sent for this age that we're in right now.
It's changing faster and faster.
And it's like for the regular everyday person that doesn't know this deep into stuff like that, they feel like, no, I'm doing this. I decided to do this, or I changed this.
And that's more ego-centered.
Right?
You can never kill your ego. What you can do is learn to control it.
Yeah.
You can't kill it. It serves a purpose. You can't kill it.
Yeah.
People that say that, they're not telling the truth to themselves.
Yeah, that's what I've even made a video about something like that, about like the word ego death being kind of like not really the best description of like when people take like a psychedelic or something and get an ego death. It's like
Yeah.
it's not gone, and
Nope.
an ego death just makes it go away just for, or not go away, but just you be able to like see past it for maybe just like a week or so, and then it might kind of like
Hmm.
you feel the more stronger affects your ego coming back more and more.
There's a
And
lot
then,
of verbiage that is not
yeah,
relevant to the spiritual realm that people use. I'm just like,
right.
and I'm a literature major, so I just look at people and say, you don't know what that word means. I don't
Oh,
think when
okay.
they
That's
say something.
cool. Yeah. Once I
But
started learning
yeah.
more about like these enlightened beings, the sages and monks and stuff, it started making me understand like on a deeper level what it was for them to be enlightened basically, and being able to like clearly see past their ego, and then
Hmm.
and basically just completely almost being separate from it. But like you said, it's like it's still there because it's this mechanism that the human just like
Hmm.
uses in a way to like enact on this in this reality. But
Yes.
they're able to just see past it at that point because they've trained themselves in such a way to be able to do that.
Yep.
And that made me start to recognize how some of the psychedelics like affected us, um, to be able to see like short glimpses of what they're experiencing permanently, basically.
That's
And
true.
I thought it was really interesting. That's kind of like what I got into for a big period of time, like kind of studying consciousness and understanding the, like, I don't like talking about like the state of enlightenment because it just has like a big connotation around it of like
Yeah. And no
kind
one
of like,
knows. This is what I love about spirituality. You can't box it in.
yeah,
And that's why I feel so comfortable, because
yeah,
I break boundaries.
yeah,
I
right.
break, yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be different for each person, even if even if like two people realize like almost the same type of states in whatever, like
Yeah, it's totally
in their
it's like a
consciousness.
fingerprint. It's like a fingerprint.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
totally individual.
exactly.
Like when there's been reports where people see the exact same entity and they see two different things.
Yeah, like a
So
completely different version or
it's
something. Yeah.
all everything is
Like it's personalized to us almost or something. Like you said, the fingerprint.
it's an individual collectiveness. It's so
Yeah,
weird to say, but it's an
yeah.
not an oxymoron. It's a word that I'm forgetting.
But I know what you mean though. It's
Yeah.
like it is like the opposite and the same.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
it,
funny. So
it,
my next question for you is, when it comes to like guides or meditation, do you have any? Do you call on any?
so like right at the first thing I started like recognizing when I was kind of starting to feel things like just seem totally different about my life, I really felt like once I started feeling that guiding force of things, I noticed that I went outside one day. I recognized that. Wait a second. It's just like I opened up my front door one day. I went out in my front yard and was like, wait a second. Like everything in creation is perfect. Every plant out here,
Yeah.
my grass is like. It's like I realized that God or creation was just literally everything, or whatever you want to call it. I try to use. Sometimes I'll say God, or I I like kind of recognize past that to a point, but I
Yeah.
use that to like make that comfortable
But
talking about that.
the only reason why I don't use the G word for it is
Yeah,
because I feel like that holds it in a lower
yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm just
and
like, the all. Let's call it
yeah,
the all.
mhm, you're right. And like I said, that I just do that to kind of like we said earlier, I kind of like will package it in certain ways for certain people because they're not even
Yeah.
gonna want to touch it if you don't, if you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. If you say something weird, they shut it down.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not that type of person. Like I want to be able to relate with
Hmm.
everybody, and I feel like I got something lovely to tell
Yeah,
everybody if it comes down
if you're
to
telling
it.
someone something and you don't care about how they're going to take it, then you're obviously not, you're not doing it the right spiritual
Yeah,
way. Yeah, you have more sincerity for people when you start doing inner work. Inner work
Yeah.
has changed me in a good way, of course.
Yeah, so much, man. And it seems like it's changed me like in such a short period of time. Like I feel like I've just learned so much. It's like it's just been dumped all over me, and
Yeah, but it's not
super
heavy.
interesting.
But it's not heavy.
No,
That's
right?
the crazy part.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I appreciate every bit of it. Like I can't get enough of it almost.
I felt weighed down when I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Yep.
huh?
Yeah, dude.
See,
It is
we're
wild.
just having epiphanies right here.
So